Hello, everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to our first donor community call. I'm Heather Heach. I'm co-founder and CEO of TeachUNITED. We are just really thrilled to have everybody with us today. We have a lot of updates, not a ton of time, so we're going to go ahead and get started. But Jess did ask me to go through a few housekeeping items before we get started. She is going to record today's presentation. We're going to share it with you all in the next few days, so you can watch for an email from us with a link to that. And of course, feel free to share it with others. You do have the ability to chat with our hosts and panelists through the platform. We might not be able to get to all of your questions live, given that it's a pretty quick 30 minutes, so we'll make sure to follow up as needed. But we are going to kick things off. Jess, if you want to go to that next slide, it's just a giant thank you, giant thank you. There are a lot of competing headlines right now, really grabbing at our attention recently. And so we know that education, especially rural education, doesn't really get the attention and support it deserves. But we really wanted to thank you all because you recognize that and you're taking action. So you know that things like high teacher turnover, disengaged kids, that negatively affects entire communities. Lower completion rates, underperforming in certain subject areas, that type of learning poverty really perpetuates all other issues. But those of you on this call, you know that, and you're acting on it, and you really are part of the team that are helping students and teachers all over the world. So you're going to see later in the presentation how we're truly closing some of those gaps, and just wanted to start off by thanking you all. So before we get into details, I want to recognize TeachUNITED's leadership team and staff members that are here today. Many of you have met some of the folks here, and on future community calls, we're going to hear more from the field and individual departments. So you're going to have a chance to really get to know these incredible folks and my teammates. So we have our executive leadership team here, Molly, Brian, Jess, as well as our global leadership team, Amanda in development, Aaliyah in product implementation. You're going to hear more from her in just a second. And then our senior directors who are leading our 3 regional offices. So Gadibo in Africa, Megan leads our Latin America team and office, and then Marcia here for United States programs. We also have several members of our board of directors here today. And of course, all of you are part of the team now, so thanks very much. The purpose of our time together is really to allow you to understand the true impact of your investment in TeachUNITED. So today's meeting is going to serve as a business update. We'll give you a sneak peek of some exciting milestones we have coming up, and then also a brief update on impact and student outcomes. And in future meetings, we might approach it more as a work session or panel discussion. So we really do want to hear from you. Send us a chat today using to the hosts and panelists. Send us a follow-up email with your thoughts. Schedule a meeting with me. Just let us know the best way to communicate with you so that you can share your feedback and ideas. So we are going to kick off this statement. This is our grounding statement, because it really rings true no matter what region of the world we're looking at. So that's part of the reason why our early stage pilots, for those of you who have been with us for the past 6 or 7 years, those early stage pilots were in 3 very different parts of the world. And as that early pilot program data came in, we saw that rural and underserved communities faced the most acute education challenges in every country. So that then became the basis of our entire program. And now that we're through pilot, through proof of concept, and we're deep in proof of scale, we really focus on those very communities, rural and historically underserved, across large regions of the globe, because we want to have the biggest impact possible for kids. And we also know that's why you're all here. So we're going to dig into some of the meat now. So often it feels like we are living through a series of education crises. Many of those have been exacerbated by the pandemic. And while school closures and crisis schooling might not be as prevalent as they were 12 or 18 months ago, the effects are still being felt. You've probably seen headlines about teacher morale. Teacher morale has been significantly impacted. Many student outcomes have either declined or stagnated in recent years. And those 2 challenges work together to really create a whole host of negative outcomes. The average learning delay now is between 18 months and a year. That's average worldwide. We're looking at a teacher shortage. You can see on the slide, teacher shortage of 50 to 70 million teachers globally. And economically, the learning loss can lead to 17 trillion of lifetime earning loss. So, and frankly, those completion rates for girls lag even more. And the gaps are even starker in countries that are affected by poverty or lack of resources. So, Jess, if you jump to that next slide, yeah, so that is the urgent part of this. Those crises, frankly, are just what motivates us. Our outcomes, though, which you're going to hear about more in a minute, show the efficacy of the TeachUNITED program. And that means it's really our duty to get this to as many teachers and partners as possible. And why do I say it's our duty? This is the line everyone on this call has heard me say a million times. Education is the foundation for all other societal change. Many of you have heard me say a lot that whatever issue you care about, whether it's climate, poverty, peace, the economy, whatever solution society is looking for to any of those key issues, it really all comes back to a quality education as a basic human right. We need as many people as possible working on these solutions. So even taking these examples here, when you're talking to someone whose cause, their heart cause is gender equity, or maybe a business cause, the economy, you can tell them that a lack of girls' secondary education costs countries between $15 and $30 trillion in lost lifetime productivity and earnings. Also there on the slide, girls who finish secondary education are 5 times less likely to marry as children. We're talking about 10, 11, 12-year-olds. They're jarring statistics. But here's the good news. We want to take the next 5 to 6 minutes to show you what it can be like, to show you what your investment is doing for rural schools and kids in the United States, across Latin America, across East and West Africa. We want to show you why we're doing this hard work. So Jess is going to queue up a 5 to 6 minute video. It's a sort of virtual site visit so that you can see the work in action. I'm going to cut my video just to make sure we're not lagging. And I think you'll really enjoy this.
Kabla ya hapa kulikuwa kuna changamoto mbalimbali. Walimu wanafundisha, watoto hawaelewi. Tulikuwa tusaidiwi. Ndio tulikuwa kama hivyo, lakini shirika TeachUNITED wametusaidia sana. Sasa hivi nasoma na mtihani uliopitaga nilikuwa 45. Sasa hivi nimekuwa 5.
Matokeo ya TeachUNITED tunayaona kwa kutumia data, kwa maana ya kwamba kutoka walipoingia na mpaka sasa, baada ya kwamba wamewezesha maarifa kwa walimu wamekwenda kutumia yale maarifa kwa wanafunzi. Sasa tunaona wanafunzi wamekuwa na uelewa mzuri zaidi, kwa hiyo matokeo yamepanda zaidi.
Kwa mwaka jana, mwaka 2020 tulikuwa na 144. 2021 tukawa na 77. Kwa hiyo tunaweza kusema kwamba TeachUNITED wamefanya kazi nzuri ya kuboresha ufundishaji mashuleni kwetu.
TeachUNITED to us is like a rescue, really. It has done great job to our place. Our teachers are very much equipped with new methodologies of handling the children, and we are so much glad of that. And with that, we cannot just be silent to them. It's a very big help. It's a very good gear to us to climb where we like Tanzanians, like any other child of this century would like to be there.
Yo soy Mayra y representa para mí trabajar en educación mi proyecto de vida. Cuando me llamaron a FUNCEPA era crear cursos para capacitar docentes, los tenía que hacer de forma sencilla, dinámica, pegados a la realidad, relacionados con cómo integrar la tecnología en el aula, cómo generar recursos y siempre pendiente de que FUNCEPA nos capacita, tiene ese cuidado de buscar la autoformación y apareció TeachUNITED. Cuando nos llevaron a la capacitación yo tenía muchas expectativas, pues sorprendentemente, a pesar de tener mis limitaciones tecnológicas, logré superarme. El apoyo de los instructores fue impresionante. Eso me dio a mí la herramienta como para decirle a los compañeros instructores que estaban conmigo en el curso, podemos cambiar la mentalidad de los compañeros y nosotros empezamos a modelarlo, ¿verdad? Y fue algo impresionante ver cómo el equipo lo asumió, ¿verdad? Y cómo empecé a ver yo esos cambios en el equipo y me decían, Mayrita, funciona. Por eso para mí TeachUNITED fue algo que viene a impactar la vida, no solo de los compañeros en FUNCEPA, sino a los docentes que estábamos trabajando, impactó en nuestro trabajo.
Every teacher makes an impact, but the impact can be positive or the impact can be negative. And we want every child to have the teacher you think of when you think of the teacher who made a difference, the teacher who changed your life. And there is a formula for that. Those teachers have a growth mindset, they use personalized learning, high student engagement strategies, they know how to use all the data we collect, and kids with those teachers might be on the verge of dropping out a year ago, but then they were making double-digit gains and re-engaged in school the next. And that's the world we envision at TeachUNITED, that no matter where a teacher or a child lives, they get the education they deserve.
We found a need to increase the choice and voice and ownership of learning that students have in our schools. And that's where our journey with TeachUNITED started, because in order to do that, we reached out for coaching and help in how we make our learning more personalized for students. And so that formed a great partnership with TeachUNITED. We started with 5 math teachers in the program the first year who had a great experience, tripled that this year. And what we decided to do in order to get to that vision for us is we started with our leaders. Our leadership teams in both the middle school and high school are partnering with TeachUNITED to increase their professional learning and their knowledge and skill, and they're sharing those experiences with their colleagues, and they're encouraging their colleagues.
TeachUNITED imetusaidia sana, tunaishukuru sana, tunaikaribisha tena mara nyingine kwa vitu vingine vizuri zaidi.
I can tell you that neither myself nor my school nor my students would be who we are or where we are today without you. Thank you, TeachUNITED.
Gracias, TeachUNITED.
Thank you, TeachUNITED.
Gracias, TeachUNITED.
Asanteni TeachUNITED.
Asante TeachUNITED. Asante TeachUNITED.
Asante TeachUNITED.
Asante TeachUNITED. Asante TeachUNITED. Thank you TeachUNITED. Have a che TeachUNITED.
I turned my video on too soon, which is too bad, because that last part kind of makes Aaliyah and I start to cry a little bit. So that was my bad, Aaliyah, for doing that. But we wanted to share that video with you. And actually, Julia from Spooner Foundation sent us a chat during the video asking where the footage was from. That was multiple places. So you saw Tanzania, you saw Guatemala, Mexico, Costa Rica, and then a rural district in Colorado, US. So truly global programs. And we wanted to share that with you because hearing firsthand from our partners, students and teachers is what regrounds us in the mission and really spurs us to reach even more communities. So that leads me to a very incredibly exciting announcement that you all are hearing first. TeachUNITED programs have reached 1 million kids. And we are so grateful for your support to help us get there. That means 1 million students around the world And it's a goal that we originally thought we wouldn't reach until 2030. So we're going to dig in now a little bit more to the programs and some of the outcomes. That's 1 million students with access to a more motivated and engaged teacher, 1 million students with access to a better education. And as you know, education is long-term gain for the entire community, because Teach United really drives change by elevating local leaders, those hyper-local NGOs. Our programs really serve as a powerful field catalyst that has ripple effects for generations. So really excited to share that announcement with you all. So here's a little more detail about who your investment is serving. So Teach United's reaching all of those milestones. It's not a top-down approach. We're partnering with community-based NGOs and local schools and districts in all of these areas. We have students, teachers, and administrators, NGO partners, alumni across 14 countries. It's 14 countries where we're building the capacity of those local teams. We provide the content so they can replicate the programs. We provide monitoring and evaluation support so they can measure the outcomes. Because as a field catalyst, we really amplify those local leaders, co-create the teacher training program so that it really is locally led. Like we saw in the video with Maya from Guatemala. She was speaking from the FUNCEPA organization, and that's how we get this long-term sustainable impact. So that's the program side. We'll go into the business side a little bit now. So we're able to do this work and reach all of these students through a diversified set of income streams. So we have both direct fee for service revenue and philanthropy. That philanthropic underwriting is crucial, because if we only work in districts that can afford to pay for our services, we're no longer on mission, right? So we do have the revenue and philanthropy. For revenue, that includes districts, departments of education, NGO partners. They directly contract with Teach United for services, and that makes up about 30% of our operating budget. Most of that comes from United States state departments of education. So we've contracted with Department of Education New Hampshire, Department of Education Wyoming. We're in the middle of those RFP decisions now, so we're going to know a lot more in the next 2 months, but we do continue to see growth in this area year over year as Teach United's name recognition increases among districts. So that's the revenue side. For philanthropy, that includes 2 different branches. We have both individual donors and institutional foundations and grants. And we've seen the highest growth in our grant and foundation giving. We've seen an increase in both the award amount as well as the number that are multi-year commitments. So we anticipate foundation grants will make up 40 to 50% of our operating budget this year. And then we have the biggest room for growth with individual donor giving. Our gifts range between $50 and $300,000. But our biggest opportunity in 2023 is simply to increase the number of people who know about Teach United and our impact. So we're really looking to increase that donor network. So then for the kind of the general state of philanthropy, like we said, it's really all about increasing our network. So everyone on this call could tell 5 people about all the great things Teach United does. That would be wonderful. So we would certainly take that, because you're not just our community, you're our ambassadors for the mission. So in order to ensure that the program can reach as many teachers and students as possible, we really do rely on that philanthropic arm. So while we mentioned that growth in our school and partner revenue streams, that there is growth there, philanthropy is still going to really play that critical role in ensuring we're closing the gap for communities that need it the most, in regions with the highest rates of poverty. The unknowns for the world economy are leading to a decline in household giving, and many foundations are moving to a focus on local actors. And those local communities and partners really are the heart of our work. They're vital to program participation. They're vital to our impact. And then there's strength for those local organizations in using our networks and our research and our frameworks and tools and content and everything. So helping the philanthropy sector understand how Teach United achieves both global scale while also being hyper local, we think that's really vital to securing funding in the coming years. And then Jess is going to share this slide here. So here you'll see a combination of our government and community partners, as well as our grant and foundation and funding partners. So a lot of these organizations provide multi-year support and both general operating support as well as specific project grants. You'll hear Aaliyah in just a second talk about some case study and efficacy studies we have coming up that are funded as a specific project with Schooner Foundation. We have a monitoring and evaluation 101 toolkit that we provide to our local NGO partners, funded as a supplemental grant from Siegel Family Foundation. So both general operating and specific projects from these folks. And that funding really allows us to scale and reach more students worldwide. The next slide, everybody's heard me say this a million times, which is great. I think it's one of the things that makes Teach United, frankly, such a game changer, is that scale is only a celebration if it's combined with measured positive outcomes for teachers and students. It's not just outputs, it's outcomes, right? And that's why in the last year, with the help of board members and some of our foundation's partners, we've commissioned 2 efficacy studies. That 1 million student announcement, huge celebration. These efficacy studies, though, that's where we see that systemic change is happening in the communities where we work. So with that, I'm going to pass things over to our Director of Product and Implementation, who also leads our research M&E work. That's Aaliyah Thompson. So she can share a little bit more about the outcomes and impact.
Thanks, Heather. Nice to see everybody. And as Heather knows, I'm just very excited anytime I get to share and talk about the impact that Teach United has. It's not just because I'm a giant data nerd. It's because when we have the opportunity to share results like this, it really is a powerful thing. Teach United has always had a rigorous approach to data and impact. We continuously collect and analyze data on everything from student learning to student engagement to teacher satisfaction. This year, we're also collecting data on teacher retention and development and overall measures of school improvement. That's critical for both ensuring the quality and the sustainability of our programs. And so because of that, this year, we conducted 2 different efficacy studies, one in the Monduli region of Tanzania and one in Sarapiquí, Costa Rica. These studies are going to be published early summer, but we're excited to share a little bit of a sneak peek and some early results today. As you saw earlier in the video, students in Monduli face significant barriers to learning, from overcrowded classrooms, resources, few resources in their schools, and up to long journeys to school, up to 9 kilometers of walking that sometimes it's rendered impassable due to flooding. And those challenges are real, and it makes their success all the more inspiring. The case study that we conducted in Monduli both supports the efficacy of the TU program and mirrors what the research tells us. Effective teachers can and do improve students' well-being, academic achievement, and persistence in school, even in the face of those significant barriers. In Monduli, we saw teachers changing their classroom practices to have more collaborative learning in their systems, to motivating their students so that students enjoyed going to school. That directly translated to more academic success. Nearly 10% more students were able to move on from primary to secondary school, and we saw double-digit growth in both math and literacy assessments when compared to our control schools. And to have a sense of what this can look like in practice, we want to do a little bit of a spotlight on Engutoto School in Monduli. During the case study, we talked to Mr. Kipya, who is one of our champion mathematics teachers. He restructured his entire classroom based on, he fell in love with these concepts. And so he restructured how he taught. And he's dealing with anywhere from 80 to 100 students in his classroom at a time. And so when he shifted from lecture-based learning, your traditional teacher in front of the classroom mode, to a personalized work where students were helping students and they were in group work, and students who mastered concepts came back to help their peers, that had huge benefits for their student learning. And Engutoto students showed, these numbers almost don't seem real, but I have the math for them and we're happy to share it. But they improved 50% from their pre to post assessments in both math and literacy. But it doesn't stop there, because champion educators like Mr. Kipya, they continue to share their new skills, not only with the new students that come into their building every year, but also with their peer educators, so that all the students in their school are benefiting for years to come. In Costa Rica, in Sarapiquí, our case study saw equally impressive outcomes. Sarapiquí has had its own fair share of challenges in recent years. The schools have had closures, prolonged closures, and strikes. There's an increase in migration and migrant workers, all coupled with a rising need for skilled workers outside of kind of the traditional poorly paid agricultural plantation work. And with that, TU coaches came in and they trained educators on experiential learning, on the personalized models, using technology in their classroom, project-based work. And as a result, Sarapiquí students improved in both their literacy and their STEM outcomes, which really helped set them up for continued success in their post-school careers, especially with regard to where technology and science experience are so highly valued in this region. And further, we saw collective efficacy improve for educators. And when educators see that they can have significant and lasting positive effects on students' lives, that type of efficacy tends to be self-sustaining. It helps schools continue to improve long after their partnership or their training with TU, because educators know how to implement and improve on their new strategies. And so that type of collective efficacy, we talked to one of our educators in Sarapiquí, Mr. Nunez, and he spoke about the vision that his school and his community had for having a form of systemic transformation where students believe that they can be successful and see examples of that success. And he spoke about how the whole school and community are starting to buy into that vision. And when students achieve, it's not only the school that thrives, it's the whole community. And we're also excited to continue our work in the United States here. As we know, rural schools in the US face their own unique set of challenges, high teacher vacancies, lack of funding, high rates of child poverty. And we are currently awaiting the results of the 2022 to 2023 school year. We have state, as Heather mentioned, we have state, district, and school partnerships. So we will be getting some results from our standardized tests from our partners, from teacher retention, satisfaction data, but we do have some early survey results to share. And educators have seen increases in their capacity, their commitment, and their drive. So at the end of the program, more than 90% of participating educators expressed confidence in implementing the new skills they learned, in their ability to address the needs of struggling learners, and in seeing the positive impact of the TU program on their teaching practice. And to give an example of what that can look like, we have Heidi Beatty, who is the principal of Northeast Nottoway, one of our partner schools in Missouri. And she trained in our administrative program, and now her teachers are finishing up their program. Actually, just about at the end of this month, they'll be having their capstone and graduation. And she highlighted for us some of the impact she's seen from increasing collaboration across grade levels, getting a chance to work with teachers who you don't always have that opportunity to work with in a school, to consistent shared language, right? Administrators are speaking the same way that teachers are speaking, all a shared language of student success, and increased kind of resiliency and stick it with it for personalized learning. The idea that just because you try something, it doesn't work the first time, teachers continue to work on it. So they're continuing and excited to continue that work there. Now, these are just sneak peeks into the pending efficacy studies that will be published early this summer. And I did want to take a moment to thank first our research partner, Bob Murphy. Thank you, Bob. And thank you and a deep appreciation to the Schooner Foundation for their funding support of this work. And lastly, of course, thank you to the students, teachers, administrators, everyone who participated in these studies. Thank you again for helping us share these stories of your success.
Thank you so much, Aaliyah. We are at time for such a fast 30 minutes for us anyway. Obviously, you probably could tell Aaliyah and I could talk about this for days and days. for years and years as it has been. But really just wanted to thank all of you. We've seen some questions coming in. We've been responding to a couple of them live, a couple of them we won't have time to live, but we will follow up with all questions following this. And what you need to know is that the main priorities for Teach United this year, we're continuing to scale, we're continuing to measure impact, and we're going to be launching an impact raise. So moving from really fiscal year fundraising into raising for that next million kids. So that's what we're really excited to share with you all today. Really appreciate your time. A recording is coming. Please schedule time with me. I'm traveling. I'll be at the Skull World Forum next week. We'll have board members at ASU GSV. If you know people at these events that we should be talking to, please let us know. Schedule time here on my calendar with Rebecca. And we just really appreciate all of you so much. Thanks for being part of our team. Really, truly couldn't do this work without you. Thanks very much.